The Young Bucks' reaction to the CM Punk Jack Perry AEW All-In backstage altercation footage airing this week on AEW Dynamite has been revealed. The reason for Will Ospreay taking a shot at Triple H on this week's edition of Dynamite has also been revealed, and it dates back to Ospreay's negotiations with WWE. Adam Copeland comments on the recent pro-AEW promo he did on Dynamite to kick off a broadcast after CM Punk's comments on the MMA Hour with Ariel Helwani. Details on The Rock's return plans to WWE and how it could involve, obviously, Cody Rhodes. Stone Cold Steve Austin was absent from this year's WrestleMania, but originally there were plans for the Texas Rattlesnake on the showcase of the Immortals. Let you know what they were. WWE reportedly is making some significant changes when it comes to the language used on WWE television. Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch are currently taking time off WWE TV. Brock Lesnar reportedly is expected to return at some point in the future to WWE TV, and Stephanie McMahon reportedly is being linked to a WWE return to an executive position. Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, there are plenty of news stories to get into in the world of professional wrestling. Let's start off with more reaction to the footage that we saw this past week on AEW Dynamite. This time, the reaction from the Young Bucks, who of course played a significant part in the segment, narrating the footage and also being involved in this storyline with FTR, culminating in their AEW World Tag Team Championship match at the upcoming AEW Dynasty pay-per-view. And more details have emerged of the Young Bucks and their reaction to the CM Punk and Jack Perry footage from AEW Dynamite this week. Of course, on the April 10 episode of Dynamite, footage from the AEW All-In altercation between CM Punk and Jack Perry was aired on TBS. The footage was used in storyline as part of the build-up to the upcoming match at AEW Dynasty between the Young Bucks and FTR on April 21st. Now, there's been so much kind of contrasting reporting when it comes to the Young Bucks and their feeling on the segment and their feeling on the decision to air the footage on television this week. It had previously been reported by Wade Keller of PW Torch that the use of the footage, quote, was not something the Bucks were in favor of doing, end quote. Keller had also made the comment that it was Tony Khan's idea and he wanted the footage out there. Now, that was later disputed by Sean Ross Sapp, who later reported that actually the Young Bucks were fine on doing the segment and actually okay on doing it all together and were happy to move forward with it. However, Dave Meltzer has now provided further details of Matthew and Nicholas Jackson's reaction to the segment in the Wrestling Observer newsletter, stating, quote, as far as the Young Bucks went, it was Khan's idea, or at least management's idea, to do the segment, and while they do want to move on from Punk, they were not negative about it. Their reaction was that they were heels doing a wrestling storyline. It was not their idea, but they were not against doing their job as asked. The basic gist is they were given an assignment and they tried to do it to the best of their abilities and were happy with how it turned out, and they are villains on television, and they felt their role was to garner heat for the upcoming tag team match. They have personally moved on from the Punk situation, and it felt weird to have gone back to the past, but they were happy to try and turn it into helping their feud with FTR. Now, Meltzer had also suggested that the use of the footage doesn't do AEW any good, and that they should move past this during a recent episode of the Wrestling Observer radio show. So, what are your thoughts when it comes to the reaction of the Young Bucks? Seemingly, they said they moved on from CM Punk. Do you believe that report, or do you think this was a case of really Young Bucks being aligned with Tony Khan and looking to embarrass Punk on television this week? Let me know your thoughts about that in the comment section below. I wasn't the only swipe at a WWE talent on Dynamite this week. The other major one coming from Will Ospreay towards WWE's Chief Content Officer Paul Triple H Levesque. And an update has emerged on Will Ospreay firing shots at Paul Levesque on Dynamite, with clarification emerging on who pitched the idea. After WWE lost out on the signings of the likes of Will Ospreay, Mercedes Moné, and Kazuchika Okada, Triple H seemingly took a shot at Ospreay on the Pat McAfee show on April 5th, 2024, ahead of WrestleMania 40, saying, quote, if they're not here to be all in on this, like when I see people that come out of trying to make it, then they pick the job where they go, well, they work less, the schedule's lighter, then you've got no business being here. Now, Ospreay responded on Wednesday's edition of Dynamite, stating in a promo that the person who took a shot at him for not wanting the grind only got to where they are in the company by grinding on the boss's daughter. While it was previously reported that this idea was presented to Ospreay, it was later confirmed by Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful Select that indeed Ospreay actually came up with the idea himself and was happy to do the promo. Dave Meltzer is now reporting also that the line was actually Ospreay's idea, kind of lining up with what Sean Ross Sapp was saying, and in fact, the line was also cleared by AEW management. Explaining Ospreay's personal reasons for defending himself, Meltzer wrote the following in the latest edition of the Wrestling Observer newsletter, saying, quote, "As far as Ospreay, the promo was entirely his idea, as he had very personal reasons to respond back. Management cleared it when he requested it, as he felt that after Levesque took a cheap shot at him, he didn't think it was wrong to jab back. It was bad timing because of the Punk thing, but Ospreay brought the idea to Khan and even said he'd take full responsibility for it. Obviously, the final responsibility is Khan, who clearly approved. Ospreay felt that when one of the most important people in the business, who he had respectfully negotiated with, had mocked his work ethic and dedication to the business, he said he'd never knocked WWE or its performers during the entire time, so he wanted to respond. His feeling was that WWE was fully aware about his situation with his partner, women wrestling star Alex Windsor, and his stepson, but Levesque still took a cheap shot at him, and he felt Levesque deserved one back. Ospreay said in negotiations with both sides that Windsor wanted to stay in the UK with her family because she lost her husband in 2020 to a suicide, and he said he would do everything he could to have them stay in the UK where she had her family support. He said that everyone he negotiated with was aware of this and thus felt it was a real low blow to make that remark about him. So, do you think Ospreay is justified in clapping back with what he said, or do you think it should have been left for social media, or just left not to be said at all? Let me know your reaction to that as well. Now, Adam Copeland recently made some headlines when he cut a promo on the April 3rd edition of AEW Dynamite. Of course, Copeland opened Dynamite on April 3rd with a positive message about AEW, thanking AEW and Tony Khan for giving talent and staff another viable option in the world of wrestling. Of course, this promo came just 2 days after CM Punk appeared on the MMA Hour and largely said negative things about AEW, their business model, and the owner, Tony Khan. Speaking to Czech Van Color, Copeland was asked if he saw Punk's interview on the MMA Hour. He said, quote, "I didn't know. I just saw clips. I have better things to do. I really do. I have kids. I don't really care what anybody really has to say. However, what I will say is, from the small clips, I realized that our locker room needed a good message. So last week I went out and I spoke to that. It's a young locker room, and it's a young locker room that, for me, because it's a different time, we tried to support each other. I came into a locker room where it was everybody for themselves, and it was a bunch of great whites. I never subscribed to that. I always subscribed to the Bret Hart school of you can help. You can help young people. Try and be positive and show that you don't have to be a dick. I don't know how else to put it. For me, I try to focus on the positives. There are so many negatives in the world today. They are both there to find. Why not look for the positives? For me, our young locker room needed to hear the positives. That's why I went out and did what I did last week. I don't need to search out the other stuff. I have better things to do. I have kids to put to bed. I have Maple Leafs to watch." So, do you think Copeland is right what he's saying? Let me know your reaction to his comments too. The Rock, he will be back in WWE at some point after now going on hiatus, but what is his plans once he does return? Now, The Rock has left WWE for the time being, having stated he was to go away for a little while on the Raw after WrestleMania. He did, on the April 8th episode of Raw, promise that he would be back and he would be coming for specifically Cody Rhodes. It had been recently reported that the early expectations for The Rock versus Cody Rhodes would see a match taking place at WrestleMania 41 in 2025. Dave Meltzer has now explored The Rock's plans further in the Wrestling Observer newsletter, writing, quote, "From what we're told, this is very much a long-term thing. There is no planned date for The Rock's to return to a match, but it's been talked about for next year's Mania. Originally, he wanted to come back and work with Reigns, but obviously, based on everything that went down, the singles title match with Rhodes is the bigger match right now. As things stand right now, he may work a match later this year, but that is not a lock. He would prefer to work with Rhodes in the main event of next year's WrestleMania, and as we've seen, he is generally going to get what he wants. That would seem to lock Rhodes in for at least a one-year title reign. We are told that isn't a lock, but Johnson would prefer it." In addition to that, it has also been reported that there have been pitches made when it comes to defending his People's Championship belt that he was gifted at the Hall of Fame this year. Meltzer said, quote, "There are also ideas he's presenting, if needed, to defend the People's belt, and obviously from the way the angle on Raw went down, it could be a bout versus bout deal since they each held each other's championship." So, We'll have to wait and see if indeed that does happen. Now, many people were wondering, where was Stone Cold Steve Austin at WrestleMania? It felt like there was a spot set up for the Texas Rattlesnake, and if you did think that, you're wise to think it, because initially there was. In the final match of WrestleMania 40 Sunday, Cody Rhodes pinned Roman Reigns to become the WWE Undisputed Universal Champion, ending Reigns' stint with the gold after 1,316 days. Several legends helped to eliminate the bloodline during this bout so that Rhodes could win the title that he has been chasing for years. John Cena made his return to put Solo Sikoa through a table before he was dropped by The Rock. The Undertaker then made a surprise appearance to chokeslam The Rock, removing the final boss from the equation. Now, one reason why The Undertaker's return was so shocking is because WWE hadn't teased the dead man's appearance like they had with Cena and Stone Cold Steve Austin, who didn't appear in the segment. Per Dave Meltzer, in the latest edition of the Wrestling Observer newsletter, WWE and Austin couldn't reach a financial agreement for him to appear at WrestleMania 40. Meltzer wrote, quote, "Undertaker's gong hit, and he chokeslammed and took out Rock. Austin was the person originally earmarked for that spot, but in the end, they couldn't reach a financial agreement, and Undertaker was put in his place." Now, interestingly, of course, many people had assumed it would be Austin, considering his history with The Rock. Everyone there kind of had their rivals, whether it be Jey Uso or Jimmy Uso, Solo Sikoa and John Cena, The Rock and John Cena. Naturally, it would have made sense for Stone Cold Steve Austin to come out, but unfortunately, they couldn't come to financial terms. Now, many people have noticed on the road to WrestleMania that the language in WWE, particularly on WWE television, was changing, and there'd been various reports about some talent being upset with the coarse language that the final boss, The Rock, was using on WWE TV, but it looks like maybe those guidelines have maybe now changed. Recently, The Rock's language has seen the shift from the more family-friendly phrasing that's become common in the PG era of WWE. According to Dave Meltzer in the Wrestling Observer newsletter, things are changing on the language front, writing, quote, "From not that many weeks ago, where talent was told to stay PG, it appears, due to Dwayne Johnson, that's not only out the window for him, since he can do what he wants, but also for at least top talent, even to the point where Paul Heyman did a suck my dick," bleeped out of course, during his Hall of Fame speech, and The Rock says what he wants when he wants, and we've seen examples of Rhodes and CM Punk being able to say things that 2 months ago would have not been allowed. The fact is, there has been a continuation of a change that has been going on for some time, and really noticeable back in August of a much younger television audience for the shows, but far greater this past week as compared to last year, indicates from a business standpoint it's working. We were told that everything is up in the air as far as going forward, as there is a recognition that going further in this direction will draw a younger audience as it did 25 years ago, but they also want to not be in a position where sponsors are squeamish, so it's a balancing act. But if The Rock doesn't have 100% carte blanche to do what he wants, he has at least close to that. We haven't seen any examples with underneath talent, but we've seen far racier language among the top talents, and they are trying to create an Attitude Era vibe. So do you think this is a good thing when it comes to the language, or do you think WWE doesn't need it? Let me know your thoughts about that too. Now, it looks like Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch could be set for some time off following WrestleMania. Following the exciting events of WrestleMania 40, WWE Chief Content Officer Paul Triple H Levesque proclaimed that the company had officially entered into a new era. A pair of top stars can't say the same, however, as they are reportedly expected to have a delayed entry into this new era. According to the Wrestling Observer newsletter, former WWE World Heavyweight Champion Seth Rollins will be taking time off the road following his back-to-back performances at WrestleMania 40. The exact duration of Rollins' hiatus is not yet known, although the hope, as of Monday, was that it would only last around 4 weeks and he would be back for the WWE Draft. Now, Rollins' real-life counterpart Becky Lynch is also believed to be taking some time off WWE TV. Lynch last wrestled in the opening contest of WrestleMania 40 Night 1. Much like Rollins, though, Lynch's efforts proved to be unsuccessful as she suffered a loss to WWE Women's World Champion Rhea Ripley. There is no word on how long Lynch may be away from WWE TV. While there appears to be some answers regarding their imminent future in WWE, the long-term future of Rollins and Lynch still remains uncertain, as both their contracts are reportedly set to expire in June 2024. Brock Lesnar. We've got a bit of an update when it comes to Brock Lesnar and his WWE future as well. And it does appear that Brock Lesnar at some point, maybe not immediately, but some point in the distant future, will be back. While there's an expectation that Vince McMahon and John Laurinaitis will never work for WWE again, the same can't be said reportedly for Brock Lesnar. Now, back in January, former WWE employee Janelle Grant filed a lawsuit against Vince McMahon, John Laurinaitis, and WWE. The lawsuit contained allegations of sexual assault and sex trafficking, and although he wasn't named directly, Lesnar was also implicated. Grant alleged that McMahon had offered her sexual services to an unnamed former UFC champion and WWE star. It's been widely reported that the star in question is indeed Lesnar. During the post-WrestleMania 40 Night 1 press conference, Triple H said Lesnar remained with the company. In a further update in the Wrestling Observer newsletter, Dave Meltzer reported that Lesnar is expected to return to television, although it might not be for quite some time. He said, quote, "We've been told a few weeks ago that it was one of those deals unlike McMahon and John Laurinaitis, who are likely never coming back, in that at some point he'd be back. We were also told that at the time it wasn't going to be soon, and it was nothing in the immediate plan." So do you think there's a possibility Lesnar could maybe be at next year's WrestleMania, or do you think it'll be even longer than that? And should he come back at all? Let me know your thoughts about that too. Finally, one person we have seen back on WWE television is Stephanie McMahon, but could this lead to something more permanent for WWE's former co-CEO? Now, after spending over a year out of the spotlight, Stephanie McMahon returned to WWE at the 2024 WWE Hall of Fame ceremony. She followed that up with another appearance on Night 2 of WrestleMania 40, where she opened the show. McMahon walked away from WWE in January of last year after her father Vince McMahon forced his way back onto the board of directors of the company. The appearances from Stephanie sparked speculation that she could return to WWE full-time. Writing in the Wrestling Observer newsletter, Dave Meltzer reported that there has been talk of McMahon taking up an executive position with WWE. In addition, no one has gone out of their way to dismiss the rumors. He said, quote, "Stephanie McMahon, who quit when Vince returned to power, opened up day 2 after sitting in the front row with an ECW cap on for the Hall of Fame ceremony with her husband. While nothing official has been said, there was certainly talk about her returning in an executive position that nobody was denying." So do you think Stephanie McMahon will eventually be back in an executive position with WWE? Let me know your prediction for that one too. But there you go, guys. The latest pro wrestling news for you. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe, bottom right hand corner. As always, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.